Okay, I think we're good. Um, so basically, I wanted to look at this one because uh, Ilios is interesting normally, um, and I thought this was fairly interesting. Or at least there are a few things I could point out about this. So yeah, so lighthouse generally goat map. Float has been run a few times here. Main reason for that is, well, I mean, so generally the thing is about rollout comps on Koth is they generally just want to win the rollout. Um, because the thing is, if you start stacking up, if you win the first fight, you cap the point. If you start stacking up, um, even if you lose the next fight, you still have an advantage. So you get 20, they get 20. So you cap first, you get 20, then they cap. But if you lose the fight, then if you can just continue going like that, then you have an advantage. And then because you end up you're the first one to finish on like 99. So like the thing is that's what a lot of these comps do. So what floats kind of does is floats just kind of basically abuses the number of windows here, and especially um these two. These two are because the thing is if you've got you can have it's very hard for Reinhardt to actually survive this because normally you could just hold shield and hey, all the damage coming in through there is getting blocked. But now in this situation you've got multiplying as so he starts to go his shield starts to go down fairly quickly. And he's also getting pressured from multiplying. So it doesn't matter that he has a shield and you don't, because you can just push in and it's very easy to abuse it. But the thing is, normally you can kind of um, normally the only reason that would happen is if they go to point way too early, because then you can basically just um, hang around here, but nothing's actually happening, and you can just press them out a load initially. Um, whereas if they go to point late, then they can set up initially, and they can actually and they can kind of destroy you over here. Um, and they can just spam you out because you don't have a shield. Um, but yeah, so there are generally kind of two rollouts which I expect will see both of them, if I remember correctly. Um, yeah, so Vancouver takes what? Okay, so both of them taking goat. Yeah, so these two rollouts. So Shock on the high ground, then Vancouver take the pillar. So this is kind of fine for both of them. Um, so what this means here is that they can't, um, based on high ground, they can't get spammed at all, or at least they'll take much less spam. They can't get like displaced or anything. Um, it's just a much like quite a safe option. except for the fact that they can't actually really push. They can't, because they're not in close range, and you need to be in close range if you want to do any damage in goat, because every hero here, with the exception of Twilight and Somancy, no, I'm not going to say with the exception of Somancy, every hero except Zen needs to be on the ground and near people to do anything. So because of that, they're not actually doing anything here. So they're just waiting for the point to unlock. Meanwhile, Vancouver are on the low ground here. And this is fine as well, because they have the lighthouse. Or, that's not a lighthouse. Why did I just call that a lighthouse? This is fine because they have cover. From Pillar. And it also means that they have map control, so if shock drop down early, then they can start pressuring, and it doesn't really make a difference. They've been playing at longer range previously. So so basically they're not actually doing anything here. Nothing's gonna happen here. They're just gonna exchange minor spam, which is gonna get instantly healed up. And it's gonna do nothing as a result. So yeah. Another thing about this is because you end up rolling out here. Actually, why do you roll? Well, okay. So the reason why you kind of set up here and have the first engagement here is just to take control of this, basically. It's a bit weird, but it's just to take control of that and make sure that you can't get. But the thing is, if you within this area, so yesterday I talked a lot about how as soon as you're in open space, it's the team that is attacking that wins. As soon as this counts as open space between here and the point. That's all open space. So the issue is if you try and the thing is, to some extent, the point is also open space because of the numerous openings there. So the reason why they want to set up there on here around this pillar is just kind of just so that they can avoid getting engaged on hard. Because if they just transition to point instantly, then the issue is they immediately just get spammed out because they're in a very poor defensive position here. There isn't they have many openings. D.Va can get spam in from multiple angles, and then you lose out. So what this kind of allows for is, so D.Va will transition here and kind of contest around her. Meanwhile, they can just hold the front line and put pressure and actually pressure this sight line here, so that they can't just take it for free and move to point and start pressuring. So basically, in summary, the only reason they're doing this is because 19 seconds left. Okay, so first thing, just transition, but whatever. I can still see it, which is good. Choi is moving to point, which is important. Well, So the thing about Diva is she is the most survivable. Is probably one of the most survivable. Yeah, she is. She's the most survivable. That okay. So this thing is annoying me. So I'm gonna just move it quickly. Come on, get out of first person view, please. Okay, so Diva, out of everyone here, she's the most survivable. Because Lucio and Diva, we're not going to include Ryan Charge, but Lucio and Diva in this roster have the most mobility in the game, right here. Diva also has the most HP, and she has an instant like click like mobility. So as soon as you trigger it, you're moving, which is awesome because it means that she can actually survive. And so what that means is she can go out much further and take much wider angles than, and this especially in setup when you wouldn't want to take like super wide angles as Diva in the mid fight when you're actually engaging, because as soon as you get pressured out at that point, then that means Bumper immediate, or sorry, not Rhine immediately has to move backwards. But Diva is the most survivable here in this. So what you end up with is Diva and Ryan kind of take two like areas. So I'm gonna clear this, and I'm gonna go here because because yeah. So this hide this for the moment, but so engage. Well, so you have that's too small. Uh, that's good. So you kind of have 2 points. There are two main heroes who will usually die first. We're gonna ignore Brig because she kind of, if she loses out early, it's usually because she messed up. And usually it's in the engage, which is probably the thing I probably should have said first, but I didn't. But yeah, so these are the two setup heroes who are most vulnerable, who will often trigger the engage by like messing up or being exposed. So first one of those is Ryan, and the second one is Diva. I have to do like commas because it doesn't let me just click, which is annoying. So reasoning for that is, so Ryan is at the front, and the Diva is also very survivable, so it means she can kind of take much wider angles. So often you'll have set up with Ryan here and then Diva much further down. So on this point specifically, you have this main cover, so that's kind of an engagement point here. So you kind of have this engagement point around here, and then you have point. So those are two very significant areas which you want to take control of. You want to take control of this area, which um, by that I mean this. Um, sorry. And then you also want to take control of point, because as soon as point comes up, then they're gonna have to move there. And so what you have here, as soon as Diva contests point here, you don't really want to be moving her off a lot later. Because the thing is, now they've set up this, and it's very difficult to push into a pincer. So they've set up this kind of coordination here. So they've pincered you here. It's very difficult to push into that. So what needs to happen here is Vancouver's diva immediately needs to push this. Like now. As soon as he sees Troy on down that way, he needs to push that. Preferably with Slime. And as I said earlier, Lucio is also the most survivable, so he needs to be pushing with Diva. Um, well, Lucio's not the most survivable, but he has high mobility, and so he combines very well with Diva. So going back to this, what you end up kind of seeing in Goats is, if can I just clear everything? That's not what I want to do. Clear page. I want a better color. This is ugly. Okay, that's good. But what you end up kind of seeing is right in the front, Diva aside, and then so that's important. Reason why that's important is that's important because those are the two main areas of focus. So those are the two heroes who they can actually kill, and who they can actually engage on. Um, so what you want to do is you want to basically so if your fight is kind of like this, you don't want this. You don't want this arrow pointing towards right, because that means she's being contested. What you want is just two equal fights where they're just contesting each other, and so that's what you see a lot of the time because easiest example is high ground. Any high ground point. So, for example, damn it, I'll go to here. So let's go Hollywood. Diva explanation. Or go to explanation would probably be better, but just want to go with this. So this point is unique in some ways, but I don't want to talk about when they're defending up here. What I just want to talk about here is stored comps, goat. So red, goat, blue, goat. So let's say you have this. So okay, and so on this point, this is you have a very very clear corner here. So get rid of all that. So you have this sightline across, and you have this sightline down that way. Then you have this high ground here, and that's important. That's what we need to think about here. So Reinhold's shield up. What the defending team will try to do initially, they'll just try and pressure because they know that they can't really get pressured when they've initially got us. So neither this is open space, so neither team. While they don't want to engage on them here, they don't want to go into a full-on engagement because they can't really back off properly. At least if they engage further up, they want to engage here. But they just want to spam here. And so the way you win that, And the way you win that spam war is all to do with this high ground. So what happened? What will almost always happen is, or optimally, this is what should happen is you'll get like Lucio and Diva up here, and so now you've got Ryan here. Probably should break out of the inside of the wall. Um, you've got Ryan pressuring main. Then Diva also pressuring main. So the thing is here now. Ryan Shield is here, so Diva is pressuring past Ryan Shield. So now he has to move back, and so that allows Ryan to move forward because what's their Diva doing? Nothing, right? Like that Diva is shooting Ryan Shield, but this Diva is shooting Ryan himself. So like the damage on Shield is much more powerful than the damage. So I mean the damage on Ryan is much more important than just the damage on Shield. Um, so they get pushed back, right? So how do you prevent this? So it's like, yeah, I guess attacking team wins. No. What happens is you mirror that. You mirror that immediately. That's pause their positioning. Then would probably be a bit further back. So what you so Diva goes up there. You might have a Lucio up there as well, although it doesn't really matter. He'll just kind of hang around this wall because Lucio can go between focusing Ryan and focusing Diva. He kind of mingles between the different fights. But so Diva just goes up here, and she can contest the other Diva. And now the damage is neither going on Ryan Shield nor on Ryan. So you've got it's equal basically. Now oh look, you've got, and so at this point Lucio will back off because he's like, hey, Diva's being contested, I can't do anything. Well, so he'll either try and win this fight, which he probably shouldn't. Well, actually it depends. I think he probably could, honestly. So, and then that would force Diva, but then you end up with a fight very heavily weighted towards this area because the fight is suddenly it's not about who does more damage to Ryan Shield. It's just who can do damage to Ryan or who adds more pressure because now you've got that kind of. Oh, so I'll add these back. But yeah, so that's kind of what's happening here. You have these two fights going on here. So one is on the front line with Ryan, and then one is just fighting over who can actually fight, which I find amazing, and which is why I love this game so much. So yeah, let's look at this. If it will let me out. So I don't like this. I think really they should have dropped earlier. I think. Or well, so they don't have Diva here because they've got Diva on point. So Diva can't actually fight here, which is Probably something to keep in mind. Um, so they don't have Diva here, but at the same time, okay. So it looks like Johnny's pressuring, but Choi isn't taking any damage, which is weird. Is Choi taking damage? I'm looking at his health bar. He takes no damage. He uses DM briefly, but that was from a longer range, so. And Johnny's taking damage, but it's not from Choi as far as I can see. And now Vancouver try and push towards point. Ah, God. And now they try and focus Choi. So this is when it kind of changes. It's not when you kind of see the difference between my analogy of Hollywood, where there's high ground, you can't contest either there, and the issue is that you still kind of can't, right? Or well, you can contest either, like so that's incorrect. It's sorry, that was incorrect. You can contest either. The issue is you don't want to commit every resource from the front line into contesting Diva because she's straight up not vulnerable. This is one of the probably the most survivable hero, apart from maybe Rhine. Like she is going to fly away. The reason why I say Rhine is because Rhine has every resource invested in him basically. Um, so like the hero himself isn't survivable at all, but when you've got every resource invested in you, yeah, he is. And now they transition to point. Okay, so this is when I kind of have an issue. In that you're taking the fight so late. Choi is on point. You can push this. You can win this fight. You have that. You have these two angles. Like, yes, you don't have DM, but now that as soon as they're transitioning to point, okay, so they're pushing as soon as they transition, but then Shock already have this kind of okay. Now they're doing it. So Sinatra pushes. Sinatra uses bubbles himself, and Choi already has that pressure on Bumper's shield. Super hasn't been taking any damage to his shield, which is important because Bump kind of. Or I don't think Bump has been taking. Yikes. That is a Zenyatta right click if I've ever seen one. So that looks like a Zen right click. Sementu should have been playing much more aggressive there. He should have mirrored Sinatra. As soon as Sinatra used bubble there, he needs to mirror. Like this entire thing, like this entire mirror is just a number of very small mirrors. Desire bubbles, respond with bubble. Diva takes crossfire, respond with crossfire. Lucio tries to contest a wall, respond with contesting a wall. Prevent him from contesting that wall. Brig triggers Inspire by pushing. You trigger Inspire. They push, you push. Like, they take an angle, you take a bigger angle. Like, yeah. This entire thing is just a load of tiny mirrors that will make your play better. That allow you to win, right? Um, super gets low. Rascal hasn't triggered Inspire. I can see that because there are no health things coming out of him or anyone else. Whereas normally they would be. Rascal needs to be further up. He should be pressing her. So Minsu has already used bubble when he hasn't used his personal bubble. That's a mistake. Like, it's so easy to see mistakes when you're in this. Because it's just, I don't know. First fight is just so, I don't know. I don't know if it's just like I'm more on it than yesterday, but yesterday analyzing Kingswear, I couldn't see most of these when I probably should have. Troy is taking damage. Why is Troy taking damage? So, okay, so Somensu's using bubble after he used. Okay, so the reason why you want to personal and then run into a projected is because personal means that you can get up your charge. Projected means you can push. If you don't have charge and you try to use projected, then you're not going to be able to push because you're zero charge. It just like even if you get 40 charge out of that, it doesn't matter. Like the mod kills Twilight. I think I would assume that Twilight had to take a bigger angle to try and press the super, and he got punished for it. That is weird. That's unusual for Zenyatta to get picked first. Usually, as I said, two most vulnerable or two most open people, paradoxically, because they are the least vulnerable. Ryan and Diva. So, I believe Ryan is the hero to die first. Well, I think the statistic I got given by Captain Planet when I asked him was that Ryan is the hero to die first in most fights now in Goat Mirror. I can't see Twilight. I can't see Moth either. Was that a boob? If that is, that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. And that means that Twilight should have been. Okay, well, so if it was a boob, that's just an example of punishing them during this transition. So, by just being the one engaging. But Vancouver have basic point control. Johnny's focus, I haven't been impressed by Johnny's focus, I'm just going to say. Like, should be pressuring Troy. Troy is low, Troy is exposed, you are Diva, you want to mirror him. This should be immediately, Troy needs to be the one getting shot at, because Troy pushes Bumper. You don't care about Super anymore. You care about Bumper. Because if they get past the shield, and you're just pressuring their shield, like, so the thing is, the value they get from pressuring Bumper's HP is way more valuable than what you get from pressuring Super Shield. They're actually pushing right now. They can actually push if you don't pressure Joy. So, he's not. Okay. That's. Push this, push this, push this, push this. It's. Okay. What needs to happen right now? Haxel needs to stun Super. Bumper needs to push Super. Johnny needs to push Joy. Slime needs to disrupt Super. Where is Somitsu? What? Can someone tell me put someone to this? Super's gonna get bubble. Bumper's already had to use bubble when he was getting pushed here. It's unfortunate. Haxel can probably. Haxel should be able to armor pack Bumper. Oh wait, no, he just has. Yikes. That's bad. Haxel, push super. Janu, why? Slime. The focus fire is all off. Slime is pushing Troy. Janu is pushing super. Janu isn't mirroring, which I don't like. Because Troy is pressuring Bumper. This isn't. Neither side is actually engaged yet. Bumper should just be able to hold this, and then Janu can just pressure Troy. And they shouldn't have given him that much space here. And I guess they want to counteract the lack of Discord, because Twilight's gone, and so they don't have that spam, and so Super's gonna suffer a lot less. But at the same time, I feel like you should still be playing it like a normal Goat's Mirror, even if you've lost someone. Because Choi is low. Everyone is low. Now, like, Choi's exposed. This should be getting just immediately punished. He's like the opposite of Gesture. Johnny. He's like, Gesture sees like a slightly low, like a target on Moss HP, slightly out of position, instant dive. Like, instantly trying to punish this. He's waiting so long, which I don't like. Then Haxel needs to. Okay, so Haxel is pushing. John, again. What are you doing? What's he doing? He's not doing anything. You're at your maximum effective range, basically. Push Choi. Does he not see Choi? This should be. Why is so much? Why are you there? Why? Okay, this is so scuffed. Now Rascal should be pushing Bumper because he wants to get Inspire up immediately. They kill Haxel. Now he uses DM. Now they're pushing Bumper. Because Bumper doesn't have anything to save him. Because he doesn't have Inspire. Yeah, I'm blaming Johnny. I'm blaming all of them. I think they all. I think Haxel didn't do. Okay, thank you. That's useful. So he amps, but that's not for him. That's for Super, because Super wants to push main. I'm not sure about that amp. Maybe he just really thinks he can get the boop. Yeah, I'm really not sure about that amp. That would explain why everyone was so low there. I don't think he needed that amp. Okay, so now they're defending the point. So, just trying to get my thoughts together. So let's see. Super Shatter. Snotch is going to get Grav. Moth almost has beat. Twilight will get beat. Will get trans. Um, Meanwhile, Seminsu will probably go Grav. He's probably gonna get it faster than um, Sinatra, but it doesn't really mean much because they're both gonna get Grav anyway. And Sinatra is still on high charge, which is important to note. Uh, Sorry. Um, Slime doesn't have beat, um, which is important in that. So at the end of the fight, Moth is going to beat, and Slime, depending on whether he has beat at that point or not, that's probably going to be the determining factor of whether they can push that through or not. But I'm not sure if Pumper will get shattered this fight. I think he might do. It kind of depends if Choi is tracking and if he's blocking his first strokes. Because Super is playing quite passively, and Super plays very passively in that he disallows Bumper from getting much charge. So if he continues to play that way, or if I'm identifying his playstyle correctly, then I don't think Bumper will get Shatter. Or at least not too early. So basically what Shock wants to do is so like yesterday, I said build around. So Shatter is base. If you so two types of Shatter: winning, and speed. So speed Shatter is just quickly once they quickly jump in, just get someone down, then just pressure out their Rhine from their base. They don't have that person up. So that doesn't get that much value, but it can do a lot. It's like a solo grab in a way. It's like it can get some value because you can just pressure them out because they don't have that person up and available to shoot the enemy, and that's an issue, especially um if it's like a brig, then that can be really impactful. Um, or even someone with an ult. Sorry. But so yeah, that's what they try and build around, or they might try and build around Moth. But, if they think Bump might come up with a shatter soon, then um, pro- um, then they probably will try and build around B and try and because they don't want to. You don't really want to try and um, because if they're being cautious, if they try and shatter and then Bumper just immediately comes back with a shatter, well, it's very difficult to shatter if you know they have one. So Super might try and just shatter first, bait Bumper into shattering as well. Then they can use Moth to beat and abuse Bumper because shatter is very punishable. Bumper will want to punish that. Snarcher and Somancy are both going to probably come up with graphs, so that's important. In the doesn't mean you can bait ults early, but I'm not sure. It depends how quickly they get them exactly. Then Moth is setting up in the standard kind of position here. So the thing is, they're going main because they just want to bypass this entire sight line. No one wants to fight through here because it's so easy to hold this corner. So they just want to bypass here, force them to play on point because this area is open space. Or if they don't, then they want to just fight there and go aggressive. And so Moth is kind of trying to disable this by. So the thing is, as soon as they set up here, like especially the so Ryan not so much, but If they're able to just set up here, then they can actually put a load of pressure onto people on the low ground. So Moth wants to avoid that. He just wants to immediately boop, or at least force something. So in this case, it should be Slime's attention. Slime should be punishing this. Generally, if there's like if someone is doing something on the enemy team and you're in a mirror, generally it's whoever is your hero that they're so for example, if their Lucio's doing something, your Lucio needs to do something. If their Diva is doing something, your Diva needs to do something. If their Zaya is doing something, your Zaya needs to do something. Every time. Or almost every time. I'm trying to. I won't try and think of any situation when that doesn't occur, because it's going to take me a while and I want to finish this. So does Slime react? Slime does react. Good boy, Slime. Gets booped. Okay, so that's forces boop. So Bumper is happy because Moth is going down. He can't really. So it's unlikely that he's going to be pressured, I think. But the thing is, he's just used boop on Slime up there. So now they don't have an issue. They can stay up here. Super's going to get pressured back because he's not, because he's otherwise just going to get spammed there. And so they're going to have to fight on point, which is good because, as I've already said, attackers have the advantage on point. Right. The only situation in Goats where the defenders have the advantage is when they have like these kind of corners. Or probably a better example is here, this corner, because it means that they can just kind of push, get back, and then immediately get back behind the corner. But they're still pushing to some extent. So just in the end, if you take away anything, it should be attackers win. Attackers, you have to engage at some point if you want to win. So, and that's very true in Goats. It's like if you want to win the fight, you have to engage. That could be a counter engage. So defend. The thing about defense is they're very good at counter engaging if you have like these kind of corners, because it means that you can just back off. So if they try and engage here, then you can back off, and then you're not taking damage, but they are because they're in open space. Then you can push them back. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, so as you see, they're getting immediately pressured back because they know that if they try and push all the way up here, they're just going to get pressured. Everyone is just going to do loads of damage to them. Then they're going to be at a disadvantage when they start engaging. Previously, they could have, because Moth was just going to boot them off this high ground, then they could engage because, like, the base there in Vancouver would be in space, which they don't really have, which they hadn't really earned in a way. There was Shock could immediately just hard engage. They wouldn't been able to back off properly, and yeah, and Biz, everyone was just getting displaced. So now, why is Super pushing up there? So do they want to push this? I wonder. So so as I stated already, Sinatra is high charge, which is important to note, because they just won the last fight. So that's why if you're just general tip for Zaya, never suicide unless you have to. Like high charge is insane because it means stuff like this can happen, whereas Somansu is still low charge because because no one's actually done anything that gives him charge. So so now they can actually pressure them and they can pressure them off like that. And Haxel's low because I'm assuming that was more because of Violet. Now Violet has Transfer almost, but Somansu, well, Somansu has grab already here. Now Bumper's jumping down. So first thing, they're not pushing through here. As already stated, they don't really want to do that. They just want to fight on point. So Bumper's just trying to push through here and trying to just hold point and force them to push it. And then they just want to immediately counter engage on that as soon as they try and push it. And he's just trying to get back some health over there. I'm not sure about Somansu's. So if you haven't seen, Somansu is back there, which I'm not completely sure about unless they want to actually just engage here. But the issue is now Somansu can't see Bumper. I'm hoping that is Twilight and that's not Violet. If that's Violet, that's yikes. No, it is Twilight. So Haxel got low initially, and then he actually gets finished off by Violet. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Look at Haxel. Gets booped onto the other side. Looks like an energy farm for Sinatra since he was low on energy. Maybe that's why he pushed up. Sinatra was lower on energy than before, but he still had energy. I'd expect he's still like 70 energy here, or that's an overestimation. That's let's say 40, and so he's still doing fairly significant damage here. Um, but the thing is, now they're kind of now kind of their pressure's kind of worn off because they've um, Bismuth's now in a better position, and so they can actually start pressuring. Violet's in a better position to spam from longer range, and then because they didn't want to allow them to push um, when Moth was getting pressured off, because then he can speed amp and he was vulnerable. So now they do. Now they can because Moth is in. Wait, and so Sinatra has bubble up, I expect, and he doesn't even need to use it. Haxel, that is super unlucky. He got booped over the edge and then got shot by Violet. So Bumper's now incredibly vulnerable because Somansu is God knows where. Don't know why he's there, but he is. We don't question these high tier Overwatch players. And now they're all dead. So that's unfortunate, and Shock didn't have to use any ultimates there, which is yikes. So basically, Vancouver should have just held there. Somansu should not have dropped down, and they should have just pushed main. They should not have done what they did. Apart from Slime. Slime did well. I am proud of Slime. Because he didn't mess completely everything up. But like as soon as they pressured Super back, it's like yikes. And now Sinatra is again very high charge. Um, Now they're holding high ground, and Titans are pushing through main. So they're going to go rotate around there to point most likely. I feel like the last one was also just a scuffed attempt at pushing point. Um, but like okay, never mind. So they're not going through Mega, so they're just pushing straight through here. So I don't know. I think so. Troy hasn't set up here. Troy hasn't had time to set up here, which is unfortunate. And Super is getting pressured back here, which is very unfortunate because he's going to get split because he's in the wrong sight line. Unless Troy starts pushing. So Troy and Rascal both need to push this heavily. Because what's happening right now is they're taking control of this. So this sight line and this sight line creates a corner here. But and the thing is, Titans have control of this sideline. Titans have full control of this sideline. And the issue is that what's happening right now is as Super's getting pressed back on this sideline, because they're pushing this, and like within this area, this is open space. This isn't open space as much because there's a corner right there. But what's happening is, so he's getting pressured back, and now Titans are starting to take control of this. So what needs to happen is they need to actually start pushing this zone to prevent them from taking control of this island. Because as soon as you take control of this island, then you have full access to shoot people. I expect what will happen. So I'm not sure why they keep on discording Sinatra, but what I expect will happen is Sinatra is going to grab in this zone. That's what I think will happen. Either yeah, so Sinatra will grab because Super can't really shatter when he's getting pushed back, and then they're gonna try and hard engage again. I think Troy could be further up here. Um, that's too late. That's too late. Super should have been pushing. Um, no, Troy should have been pushing this immediately. Because right now there is very little pressure on Bumper. They just want to immediately re-engage, and Super's gone too far back. I feel like this is too late. Considering Sominsu has a grab, I wouldn't give them this much space. Okay, so so Super's given this up. So he's instead decided to transition to this sightline. But then that gives up their previous advantage of having Choi and Super both pressure this. So now they're just relying on this front line here, which I don't like. I think that could have been punished there because they had a grab. Because they had an ult advantage. So Russell ult. And now Super's getting pushed back. Why? This is this playstyle is incredibly passive and like so the thing is Titans aren't actually getting any value out of this, or at least they are. They're getting space, but they're not but what's happening is it's like they push them back to one thing, then they just hide behind that corner. Then they push them past that corner, then they just hide behind another corner. Then another corner, then another corner, then push them back, hide another. Like it just continue. No, Seb Bumper is like a non-shield line. Sometimes he's super aggressive. Yeah, he is because he has no reason to not be. Um, like in the end, aggression wins. He gets a lot of resources. Every Ryan gets a lot of resources. Goats is entirely based around Ryan getting resources. Like everything all these heroes do just feeds into Ryan. So when bubbles Ryan and allows him to push because he's got bubble. Haxel puts some pressure from the front line, means that he like there's a mirror that so Ryan can't get stunned because Haxel's there. Uh, Lucio feeds into Lucio speed boost. So as just got like everything just allows Ryan to win the. Like the thing is, Super is getting every resource at the same time here, but he's just moving backwards, so we don't notice. um, but like at this point, because now they've got Discord on Super. Now they've got Discord on Super, and that's important because previously they had Discord on Sinatra. So if they can force a cleanse from Sinatra on this, because they need to, Sinatra needs to bubble this. Sinatra going to bubble. Okay, so like as you can see, Discord's gonna look, and then this is kind of a small example of Lucio fight. Lucios will often fight over pillars like this. Because pillars like this, if you can wall ride around them, are insane. Um, so again, as I was talking about with mirrors, Lucios will fight over this a load because they want to get boops and they want to displace. Um, okay, so Simon 2 grabs Rascal. So what does that do? That means that, well, so honestly, they don't want to pressure this. Russell has all the armor in the world. They literally just want to push this. So if someone two focuses this, I'm gonna be very disappointed. Oh my god. Okay. So this is what kind of happens in fights when you have ults. Is neither side does anything for a while. Um, it's like they'll do like the thing is, like as I said earlier, they should have just grabbed. But the thing is that just extends the time that they can survive, and it means that they can. But the thing is, Vancouver would just come back with another grab. So here we see. So Haxel would have rallied first of all. Rascal's used rally. Haxel would have rallied if he had it. So this is a disadvantage which Titans have. So now Somensu's used grab. So yeah, he has used grab. I thought he used trans for a second, but he didn't. Because he's Zaya and Zaya doesn't have trans. Um, I don't think this is necessary. First of all, because Rascal shouldn't really be getting pressured on this. They just like I feel like they should just. Well, okay. So the issue if they don't pressure Rascal is they want to actually punish him. Yeah. So they might actually want to. So this is just, hey, in case you want to kill him, here's this as well. That was a mess. So Rascal grabs. but Discord can melt through trans. Um, and they do choose to kill Rascal, which is Pog. And then Sinatra uses Grav, but Janu is right in front of him, and he doesn't notice, so it gets eaten. Which is weird because usually that should only happen if, like, the thing is with Su's graph, there was nothing really stopping Diva, stopping it, stopping him. That's what I wanted to say, stopping him. Whereas with Sonatas graph, like going for the big graph, that yeah, there was. So I would have waited a lot longer. Um, like Grav is more of a punisher for aggression. Um, if they're going aggressive on you, then you Grav. You don't, because at that point they're actually you by grabbing you actually punish them. There they were basically just stationary, and they weren't even. So I'd say that was very early, um, because they weren't even pushing at that point. So yikes! And now Supercharge is back, but then that gets used. That shouldn't get any value. This is an issue when this is what happens when you kind of too aggressive. This is But the thing is when you're playing in a fight with this many ultimates, your team's cooldowns only last so long, right? So Bumper, you can't rely on your team's cooldowns at that point. So you have to play much safer. So is it even worth to invest bomb here? They lost last in committing something they shouldn't, to be honest. If in Goats, honestly, you can win with a one-man disadvantage, to be honest. Um, because the thing is, to actually get that, um, like, the thing is, um, so Vancouver have already invested stuff into it, the ult into it anyway. So they're probably going to need to invest more. But so yes, you've got Rascal, but the thing is, so in some fights, in especially in a lot of first fights, when there's zero ults on either side, then you'll often just see like on the kill feed it'll just be one color killing another color, like red kill blue. Surely bomb use there is fine because grav as you said there's no real combo. It's just being used to stop them from pressuring. It's just being used as a counter. Um, is to allow them to counter games and to kind of prevent Super from just being continually forced back. Because right now Super's just being continually forced back, and now they don't have Rascal, they can't actually counter engage properly. But the thing, so as I said, when you're on an alt fight, there's no um at some point your team's cooldowns run out and you can't. Yeah, yeah. So so when you're in an alt fight, there's um, at some point your team's cooldowns run out. You can't actually continue pressuring because you have to wait. Yeah, right. So and so and so then you end up just relying purely on primary fire and Um, so that's where Zaya shines basically. It's in the engage after when you've kind of entered the chaotic phase. Um, and it's also where she like kind of performs rather poorly because so you have that so in supporting Ryan in like directly through projected she's very poor. um and Diva is probably a better example of doing very poorly at this point, because as soon as you use DM, then you kind of Ryan starts losing shield very quickly. Like shield at this point in the fight is low. So the thing is, I do think that I think that bomb was worth it because, well, so as we see, it kills Bumper, and it also means that they actually have a chance to engage because this kind of performs the function of the brig to some extent. It doesn't like a single ultimate can't equal the value of a hero that easily. Yeah, just because the play worked doesn't mean it was good play. But well, I mean, it does just because a play worked doesn't mean it's a play you should replicate. It does mean it was a good play because given that situation, if it works, well, if you win if you win the game after making that play, then technically yes, you could say that could have been the correct play. But it doesn't mean you should replicate it. Hey, what's up? Um, but yeah, so I was saying, so you don't want to um, an ultimate can't actually replicate what um, a hero does, but it can perform the function which you kind of expected it, which you kind of expected that hero to do. Um, if that makes sense. So if Rascal was alive or in the fight at that point, then his function would have been to just push Ryan back, right? Right? In the just allow Super to push again because as you can see, his shield is very low, and as I've already kind of said several times, his aggression in goats is key. You have to aggress at some point, and here you like that diva bomb is all you needed to kind of trigger that. You didn't necessarily need the kill, but that's what its goal was. When that moment it does, but you can't work around it and make it win condition for following plays. Um, you can work around it to some extent. I think, like, so you can work around it the same way you'd work around, like, having a brig. And so it's an issue right now that Troy is probably just coming back here right now, and so they don't have DM just yet. But it's not it's like I agree you never want to make your game plan, hey, let's have Brig die so we can force grab and then let's just send a Diva Bomb in. But at that point in time, I think that was probably the best move. I think, or at least it was one of the better moves. I think there's always an argument to make about the trade-off you make by bombing because you're out of mech for a period of time, so that's an issue and can be kind of displayed here by his shield being low right now and Janu having the opening because he sees that hey, Troy isn't in mech, he can't pressure, I can push. And so now at this point, so this point it kind of moves into chaos, or not chaos as in you can't really understand what's going on, but more as in which like neither teams don't really prepare for this moment. Teams don't go, hey, what happens if Brig dies? Then we kill their Rhine, and then like that's not a moment that comes up in selling set plays. Um, so this is kind of very deep in the engage. So at this point, Janu is kind of just acting like the Rhine right now. Because he sees, hey, Bumper's dead, so I need to actually create space. And so, obviously, he's not fit for this role specific, like, as well as a Rhine would be. Um, but it works because he's creating space now, and he sees the salty melon. Thank you for following me. Yeah, that's when players' instinct starts to kick in. Not much coach. Yeah, not much coach. I mean, you can prepare them in the you can individual coaches are very useful at this position. Like if you're a strategy coach, then like at this point, players don't care what you're saying, or at least when you were talking about this point in the fight. But well, I mean, to some extent, that's probably kind of wrong to some extent, but Discord should not be on Sinatra straight. So like I don't get. So I expect what happened is one of Vancouver's coaches said, yeah, you get what I mean. Thank you. One of their coaches said, "Hey, Sinatra is an issue. Let's focus him because Super is playing super passive. Super, ha, bad joke. But and so they're just like, I don't like that, but like they Twilight Discord should be on, right? Because Sinatra, it doesn't really matter. To be honest, that he's good. Um, because he's good in that he can also play around Super and he can stay alive. And so, okay, so now Discord's on Super, which is good. Who's taking damage? Johnny is taking damage and Super is taking damage. So the thing is now, Johnny normally wouldn't have been able to push this far, but Roscoe's dead, so that means that he can actually push that, and still normally you wouldn't really want this, but or at least not. You don't want him to be face tanking, but it's still useful. Kill Super. Then Slime boops Violet, which is probably a mistake in Violet's positioning because Violet tried to set up back on coast. And then so that could I'm not really sure how that could be. That's probably an issue with Super just losing that space so hard. I think if he was playing much closer to these walls, um, which the reason why he wasn't is due to a number of other factors, unfortunately, um, such as Sinatra bubbling very, very late, or early. I didn't quite see, but either way, incorrect bubbles. So that is unfortunate. Now again, that was kind of a blip in target focus. I think the issue with so the reason why I'm calling that out, because even though he's now focusing Troy, is that I really don't think he should have been focusing anyone but Troy at that point. Then Moth beats, which is bad. Just yeah, straight up. So yeah, there's okay. So that was a very, very, very late beat. I can see his reasoning in the hey, we're getting pushed back, and now. But the thing is, so what happened there is Shock were like Shock waited way too long to counter. So I'm gonna go over this again because like I went over this like a week ago or something. But so there are two types of fights. Two types of way in which you can win. One, engage. So this is in goats, and I believe it also applies to every other comp. One, engage. Two, counter engage. I can't, I can't write with a mouse. I need to get out my pen. So the thing is, Shock were just going for counter engage that entire time, and Vancouver were going for engage that entire time. And the thing is with a counter engage is you have to actually be able to commit at some point, and so that's where like walls come in, because as soon as you can get back to a wall, you can suddenly you can actually engage because you've got a point at which they can't shoot you, and so their aggression kind of stops because so you go from I probably shouldn't call it a wall, it's probably better to call it a corner, but you go from a position where they have full access to so let's ignore what's on the screen right now. So they have full so let's say this is a path, and then this is the corner. So that's the corner there. Like, if they take control of this, then they can just continue pushing them down there. So if they start like here, then they push them down to here, then they've taken control of that sideline, and they can shoot everywhere down that sideline. But then as soon as that corner becomes a thing, the thing is they can hold there, and they can hold part of that sideline, because as soon as the team push into here, then they're in that sideline. So I'm hoping that makes sense. And then that's where you can counter engage. And so that's what Shock were going for. But what happened was they ended up getting pushed all the way through. And so this is kind of what I mean about how this point is very beneficial to attackers. So firstly, it's very poor. It's just a small bit of cover. It's not a corner. You can't, if you get pushed past there, you're immediately in the open. It's like you have this one blip of not being in the open where you might be able to counter engage. But then what happened is everyone tried to just immediately overcompensate. Choi, that was good. Moth, it was way too late. But they immediately tried to overcompensate for that with ults just to counter engage, and then realized, hey, we don't have a break, we can't counter engage. And I think, well, so on a basic level, not having a break means you can't counter engage. So that immediately messes up their plan of playing super passive. I think the bomb was still okay, because I think they probably could have done that, but that should have immediately been followed up by a beat. Okay, continue. Then Rascal comes back. Is he going to die? Unlikely. If he dies, I will be. Okay, never mind. He doesn't. Okay. Okay. So firstly, so this setup, so you have Jono immediately taking here. So, taking up there. So, well, that's where he's going to position. In a second, as we just saw. So again, that's kind of what Moth did and what Slime countered. So this just means that they can't just hold up here and spam, and it means that they can just get very quickly punished, provided it works. It's kind of a kind of way to catch you out, but at the same time, it is something you need to do because you want to commit that. You want to force them to commit that that boop into you, or those resources into you, because it means you can initially, like, it can't go bad for you. It's rare that it's going to go bad for you. provided you react properly. So they push high ground, Moth again. Like, so you end up always having this Lucio just checking that, which is good. And you see it a lot in lower level teams. They don't do it, and then they die. Like even in contenders, that's an issue. Then, so Sinatra bubbles. Sinatra gets charge. Should he have got charge there? I'm kind of conflicted as to, like, I feel like you probably shouldn't have got charge out that, although Bezosly tried. Maybe they just want to get random spam off. And then Bubba's playing all the way up there, which is fine, I guess. Oh yeah, I probably should have covered ultimates there. So Sonata grabs. Violet almost has trans, which is going to come up in the fight, hopefully, most likely. And then Summonsui almost has grab, so he's going to immediately counter grab this, probably. Twilight has trans, which I don't think he'll use, provided he's comfortable that Summonsui has it handled. I think Twilight will want to use it a lot later when they've actually fully committed, because right now, Sinatra is only 13 charge, right? So when I said earlier, should he have got charge out of that? No, he didn't, and he shouldn't. So that was a poor bubble. So the way I think they want to counterplay it is they probably want to, because so Shock are in the engage right now. Shock are just going full on in the engage right now. They want to take control of this sideline. They want to push them back. They want to push them back to point. So what Vancouver want to do is they just want to turn that around. They want to grab Shock, then immediately start pushing back. And they have the ult support it, whereas Shock don't. So I expect Summonsui will just want to mirror this. And then they can end it with like a shatter. And they don't. So one thing they don't want to do, they don't want to end it with bomb. Because as soon as so right now they have a heavy ult advantage here. Look at these ults; they're very, very bad, right? Because Shock overcommitted. But the thing is, if Johnny gets like his 6k off this, the thing is you don't get any ult charge out of an ult, right? If you get kills with an ult, you don't get ult charge out of it. No damage from an ult gets your charge. So the thing is, if they grab and then they bomb, then they immediately lose everything. So I think they can just grab and then they can push. And then Sumonsu's got bubble, so this is fine. And then Twilight goes, okay, yeah. So Sumonsu gets stunned. And so based on that, Twilight goes, okay, he's low. He's just got pinned out of charge. He's used bubble. Let's push. But the thing is, Sinatra grabbed. He doesn't have personal up. He's low charge. Like, what? Whereas they have both bubbles up. He hasn't done, like... Are they just going for a soft push? Yikes. That was a very, very early shatter. That should have... At this point... Okay. Shock have no ults. If they have no ults, you go for the winning shatter. Because you can. There's no, like... If you go for the fast shatter if you want to force something, if you're at equal playing field or at a disadvantage. You don't go for the fast shatter if you can win the fight with a shatter, because you want to get as much value out of each ult as you can. You have an advantage here. So you can win this with 2 ults. They have maximum 2 ults, and they've just used one. You want to mirror that. That's poor tracking. Either they vastly overestimated Shock's ult, or it's just bad. That should have come. So that came out because they saw Sevensu was pinned. That's still bad. That's still bad. You're in a grav. You need to just grav. Just grav that. Like, push into them. Okay. Push into them, grab that. Cool. They do it. Oh my god. No. No. You have a trance. You have a trance. You. Why? No. Please. You have a trance. There's no point for you to ult that. Why would you bomb that? No, you have no CC ult because you. No, that's poor. If anything, Shock got value out of that, like, which they shouldn't have. And I get that, so they died quickly. So, but at the same time, Violet has a trance. Twilight doesn't have a trance. The slime has B. Haxel has Rally, but Super is coming up on a Shatter, which Butler doesn't have, which is yikes. And also that fight was incredibly quick, which I don't like. Or yeah, that is way too many. So considering they are on a last fight, if they win a fight, then they win the round. Like there's now you have no ults to start this off. So yeah. Okay. So again, they're pushing high ground. So you just want to push out initially. So Slime does start on the thing again. So on the high ground, ready to boot them off. Then he gets. It looks like he gets pressured off. Simonsu staying up there, like he has personal, but I don't think he wants to use it up there. I'm hoping he didn't. Now he's going to use now he uses personal. Good. So that was, I expect that was miscommunication from Super. So now the issue is, so they're playing around a corner. So now Vancouver can immediately react because even though Super pushed this main one, he doesn't actually have control of this sideline, and Vancouver have control of this sideline, so they can immediately react. So that's good. Violet uses trans. Titans can't follow up, or they can't counter because one Zen player decided to use his, along with every other ult in the game. So that is unfortunate. I wonder who that could be. No, Twilight is discarded. Now I get he's in trance, but yeah. Still should probably be on bumper. I don't know though. I'm not gonna criticize that too much if he. I know optimally he just wants to switch it before he trances, but you can't really predict that as well, so it's whatever. Now they get pushed back. So why did they get pushed back? Why did they get pushed back further? So so it's probably trans. So that's my initial guess. Yeah. So trans happens. Slime beats. Mm, I'm not sure they should hold this. They should try to hold this. I don't think they can hold this. Yes, you have beat. Um, that's useful. But they have trans. So now they push through. I think that beat was either late or early. It was late if they wanted to hold here. They wanted to hold here. It should have happened immediately. Um, that should have just been for pushing there. It was early if they wanted to just hold here, which I think they should have, because I don't think they can push it through with trans. And if it was earlier, and if it had happened here, it would have got countered by trans. Um, but Haxal's now, so this is good because the armor builds up under the shields, so it's basically a free advantage, which is useful. But Super is now building up Shatter. The thing is, Bumper was forced to shield that. Bumper was forced to shield throughout that, and they've used B, so they can't really. Okay, so they did hold that. They did hold this area, which is good. So that's all fine. But I don't know. I still. And Johnny's kind of a weird. Johnny's contesting point. So, but the thing is, he can't push up this far, like too far. He can't unless Bumper pushes up a lot further, which I don't know if he could. He's coming up with Shatter. If they want to push that, it's going to be so clearly telegraphed. But if Johnny wants to, here's what I think they should do. I think Johnny should push Troy here, force him to force him to move off. Summon already pushing Sinatra. Bumper needs to go around left of here. Then they need to immediately just speed through there because they have armor up. They speed through there. Summon grabs because Troy is being contested. And then they can focus Sinatra because I believe he's used Bubble. But Johnny wasn't in a position to do that. So like Bumper's aggressive playstyle just isn't being supported it. But the thing is, Troy is so low. Johnny, where are you? So yeah. And now the thing is, they don't know which side they're going to go. So Bumper is just going right, even though he should probably hold left. He should probably just push the left one, to be honest. But like, if they've committed that many resources into pushing that, the thing is, if they give up here, if they give up this zone, then they're just going to get pushed all the way through and get killed over here. Or have to force resources over here, force bubbles. Okay, so now, why? Troy, you're not being contested. Johnny wasn't doing. Johnny doesn't have bomb. You can just pressure Bumper. Yeah, I don't know. So super push is there. Okay, so it was going. So he wanted to block Grav or prevent DM from. No, Sinatra doesn't have Grav. Yeah, no, that was incorrect. That was dumb. Maybe that's a language barrier thing. Maybe he thought that their team had Grav and he was trying to prevent it. But yeah, that was like. So firstly, Johnny should have been pushing him earlier, probably. So now they've grabbed after Super's push. So so yeah, that's better than what I suggested, I think, because now they've actually forced bubble. Um, but Super's shattered, which is unfortunate because now Slime is stunned, and so Bumper doesn't have a speed amp, so he's relying basically entirely on Haxel to keep him up, which isn't going to happen, just straight up. Yeah, so he dies immediately. Um, Johnny gets pushed. Yeah. So how could they have entered that shatter? I think that's probably on Haxel for not. Where was Haxel? Where was Haxel when they needed him most? Haxel is here. Done there. Bump shatters. Why? God damn it. Um, Wait, so Johnny pushes him away? Then Haxel can't stun? And then Slime is too far forward. Well, so the thing is, Slime can't do much. He wants to, like, Boop is useless here. But he's, like, in the air, so, like, he should have been just behind Mumper there. That was just discoordination and not knowing where to go. And then he kills Rascal. Rascal's dying early a lot. Now they want to. Well, so Bumper's low. So Haxel just wants to go for the nearest target, who currently is probably going to be Choi. Yeah, it's Choi. Um, Come on, yes. Um, then okay. And then so they can just continue pushing from there. So I feel like that shatter from Bumper was just so poor. Like, and then Slime was just incredibly expensive. And so this is the last fight, and so Vancouver are likely just gonna have to push way earlier than they want to. So Twilight's coming back. So Simonsu's not back, and it's 90, yeah. Um, and Sinatra has Graph, so I'm expecting it to finish here. And then I don't know if I want to do another one after this. So yeah, so Johnny literally just wants to get to point. So yikes, and then everyone dies. So that's it, basically. Do I want to continue? I'm gonna probably end here, just because I'm tired. Hopefully that was useful, I guess. Um, let's go.